You got the fields, which is kind of the ultimate, kind of the basic, the batting cage. And let me tell you guys are very lucky at Oak Hills Little League. As a guy that has trained a lot of teams out of the Little League and coached the Little League, to have as many cages as you guys have is an abundance of riches. McAllister Park Little League is the teams that I've coached. They've gone to 3 Williamsport Little League World Series, I think 3 in the last 8 or 9 years. And they have like 5 batting cages in the whole facility, the whole place, which is like 15, 16 fields, I believe. So what you guys have is gold. And you guys, I hope, take advantage of that. The open space, and when I talk open space, I'm talking about the space in between the fields, between the batting cages and the outfield wall usually. That's also gold as well. So the field, the reason why it's so valuable is it gives you game-like feedback. You can see how hard the ball is being hit on the field. You can see where it's landing. You can see the direction off the bat, and that's critically important. That feedback tells you whether you think that result is going to transfer to the game. The disadvantage, of course, is that you get less reps because it's usually one guy throwing and 8 guys standing around fielding. And if they're not swinging at every pitch or putting the ball in play, it just takes forever. And that's why cages were invented. You get more reps because the balls only fly so far and you can get a lot of hitters going through fairly quickly. The disadvantage of the cage is you can't generally see where the ball goes. You can't see where it lands. And a lot of times we make assumption as coaches and dads of what the result was going to be, and we're wrong. And I can prove it to you if you come in and you watch a hitter off HitTrax without looking at the screen, tell me that ball was a hit or where it would have landed, and I promise you most of the time you're wrong. And the open space in between is the advantage is you just got space to get more reps in. The disadvantage, you have limited options. The ball's got to fly really short. You can't hit it very far, so your tools have to accommodate the space. So here's your full field, right? You got the full field and you can basically hit it from line to line. The problem is if you step in the batting cage, most batting cages are 12 feet high by 12 feet wide. 70 feet is your biggest batting cage. That would be a pro style cage. The ones that I saw for you guys, I think are between 40 and 60 feet. So essentially what you get is most of the time you just aim for this yellow square and X in the back. And when I was a player, anything that hit the sidewall here was counted as a foul ball. Like I had to hit the back net or it wasn't a real hit. And then when I realized here as HitTrax, we have 18-foot cages in the HitTrax, and I can tell you how much distance and how much room you have on the side. And a ball that almost hits this green line over here on the side net is like close to being fair. It's just so much room on the left or the right. Sometimes we get so focused on hitting that back net. And what reality is if you are hitting with all of your guys and they're pelting this back net and this yellow little target back here, those balls are grounders before they get through the infield. And what we're seeing now is even at the high school level, players are being shifted over. That ground ball that lands behind the pitcher's mound, which would be a hit in my era of play 20 years ago, is an easy out for the shortstop shifted over. And that's what's happening to the big leaguers today. Joey Gallo would be hitting 300 if they played him straight up, but he hits 240 because they pull side everything on him. So how do we get more out of field practice? So on the left, you have like the old and busted, which is your single L screen BP, okay? On the right is how I run a field BP practice. So what I do is I take a big square L screen and I stick it in the middle between these 2 hitters, and I put 1 L screen on the left and 1 L screen on the right. You can supplement with 2 bow nets here, anything that just protects you from getting hit as a coach. But you can alternate BP, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and you can really make BP efficient and fast. And I would urge you to pair that with game-like practice. And you will not just double the reps, but sometimes when you guys get into a flow, you'll triple the reps. You can get 3 rounds in the time it would take to get 1. And if you watch like Japanese baseball, you'll see that this is how they take BP every single day. And we're now just adapting that and pulling over to United States baseball. For your open field practice, you just have to use the right tools for the job. Heavy balls, side or front toss, and this little space right here next to the batting cages is gold. You can get 15 or 20 feet back with a heavy ball. And for that part, you're just trying to get them reps. Just let them square the ball up, try to feel like they're driving it. It doesn't have to be complicated. If you have this open net on the side of the batting cages, this is a great spot to throw the wiffle balls or your limited flight balls from overhand, because now you have more range and more area to throw it to the left and the right, or for them to hit left and right. I still would probably encourage them to stay through the middle or try to hit balls oppo in this, so they're not yanking it into this to the batting cage here. But the open areas for foul line to foul line here makes it a lot more game-like, and will be a great place for you to hit before ball games if you can't like hit on the fields. And this is basically how I would structure practice if I had about an hour. And from what I'm told, you guys have between an hour and 15, hour 30 maybe. But sometimes your hitting practices generally go a little bit over. So we're just gonna like outline for 60 minutes and keep it really simple and easy and clean. So if you have 3 groups, 3 to 4 players per group. I've coached Little League. Sometimes it's hard to get 6 players at a practice, but if you can get 9 to 12, you can run a really nice 3-station practice. You need 3 coaches, 3 helpers to do it, and you can run it in about 20-minute rotations and get a lot of work in. So for group 1, I would run that down the right field line, and that's a wiffle ball line drive competition. And for that, I'm using some short or limited flight balls, and I'm focusing on what is the optimal result. Let's hit line drives, okay? And I would caution you guys in practices like this where you only have 1 time a week to get into the weeds on any mechanical stuff. I would really focus on outside focus, really on external focus of where they're triggering the ball and intensity of swing and direction, and limit all the conversation about movement to like coaches or one-on-one practice like off the field or in between. Group 2 would be outside the batting cage. So this would be heavy balls, front toss, and side toss. It doesn't matter what you do. You're just trying to get reps, trying to get them to square up the ball with a heavy ball. If they hit the bottom or the top, it won't fly very straight or far. So just focusing on hitting barrels and getting good timing to the pitch. And group 3 in the batting cage, soft toss BP. Just get them with a lot of reps in there. If that's your only chance to hit overhand and hit on field or hit in the cage, then just give them soft toss BP. You can always switch it up to some type of game like cage ball or exit velo competition to get a little bit of urgency on that. I would just encourage you to create all types of games to get players engaged and excited about practice. Kids hate drills, okay? Although we do a lot here as well. The second one would be the second rotation and group here on the bottom would be 2 groups, 60 minutes when you basically have access to a field and are not restricted to like trying to run a field practice at the same time that you're running a hitting practice. So at the bottom, what I would do is I would have 1 group out in the field, fielding balls off the bat. When guys talk about kids not having an instinct and they can't field baseballs, the best way to teach instinct, reading balls, and making good jumps is to take a lot of live balls. We can tell the fungal we want, but they need to see it off the bat in a game-like situation. If you go double barrel BP, you're getting a ton of reps for your fielders if you split them in half and got 5 to 6 out in the field, fielding and shagging. Group 2 is going to be split in half. So you'll take 6 kids into 2 groups of 3. So you take your double barrel BP at home plate. I would encourage you to make a game like go high velo, mix pitches, call strikes and balls, give them a target to hit to, give them situations sometimes, as long as it's not like, here, we have like, 20 minutes to hit and we're going to bunt for 10 of those. I mean, you guys bunt maybe 2% of the time. So fill up practice with swinging the bat and use 10% of your practice time on the other stuff. Okay. Just fill up what they're going to do a lot of, which is swinging the bat, hopefully. Okay. And I would just mix it all up and give them as much game-like as possible. And then down the line, like the right field group, what I would do is I take my wiffle balls down the BP and I just throw like feel good BP to those players and have a line drive competition, or let them just hit the ball hard and far and just let them have fun. So with 1 group at home plate, it's game-like, seeing how the results happen on field with fielders out in front of them. But the second group is that feel good, build confidence, throw